you guys, welcome to my show. So glad to see you guys. But before we get started, make sure you brew some tea, brew some coffee, and make sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below to tell me what do you think of my videos. So a lot of people probably wonder, girl, where have you been, Miss Nikaluv? You haven't made no videos in a long time. I'm sorry, you guys, that I did not make no video, but you do have to self-care yourself, and like always, mommy's duties. But I do have a video about to come out right now. Please, I want you to check out, share with your friends, for somebody who needs this uplifting right now. This is the time we need to come together and lift our spirits up. This amazing lady who I did this interview, she's a life coach, she's a motivating speaker. She does have a book that you need to check out. I will send the link down the bottom. But please, I want you to welcome with open arms for Miss Lisa Frank. I thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview with me. But how are things going with you, Miss Frank?
So far, things are going well. We've had to make a lot of changes in the past year with the pandemic. And, so I believe that I've made a lot of adjustments. And I actually had COVID twice last year. I had it in mid-July and I had it mid-September. I was very sick both times, but the second one, I was hospitalized for 7 days. And when I came home, I couldn't walk. So I had to go to intense physical therapy for 2 months, which ended New Year's Eve. So I was able to start my new year off right. And, it was a blessing. And, I thank God for his healing. And, of course, being in that situation prior to that, I, was a person who basically my routine was 10 glasses of water a day, a smoothie with fruits and vegetables a day, walking 40 to 60 minutes a day. And just being knocked down like that, can really throw you. So I think I was in a little bit of a slump, but I feel the lift, I feel like that's lifted. And I'm doing, a lot more focused at work. And as I told you off camera, I'm about to move to Texas. So I've been busy. I'm just looking forward to getting there next Sunday, not this Sunday, next Sunday, so that I'm tired of living in between. That's not an easy place to be. But other than that, I'm doing well. Thank you.
Praise the Lord. I'm glad that you're feeling much better and you hear from the Lord of God of this COVID. But I also want to ask, tell me more about yourself.
Okay, so I'm passionate about helping people and helping women especially. My career with counseling began in 1994. So I'm a mother of 2 children, and I have a son and a daughter, and I have a granddaughter who's 3, going on 4, almost at 40, going on 4. And I work in the healthcare field, but on the insurance side. But I have worked on the medical side as well. I worked in banking for 12 years on Wall Street, but then, through a series of events and conversations, kind of realized that my passion was counseling, helping people. And so I started sending out my resume, and someone gave me an open door at a halfway house for women and children recovering from drugs and alcohol in 94. That was my first position in the field. And I stayed in the field for 18 years. And then, of course, went back to school. I went back to college to pursue my second degree. I have a degree in theology. I've been saved for a long time. Well, initially since age 18, but then, I fell away for about 8 years and came back to the Lord in 90. And I've been running for the Lord ever since. So being, in the field of counseling, it really gave me an opportunity to use my God-given gift, and mainly as a listener. And how I realized that was I was so unhappy on my job working in the banking. And then I went to my 10-year high school reunion, and everybody started saying the same thing about how I was always a good listener in school. I always gave them good advice. And I didn't really see myself that way because I was actually diagnosed with bipolar disorder at age 40. So whereas everybody said that I was blessing them, that was a time when, because of a tumultuous situation that was going on in my own home, where I was being abused emotionally and physically by my sister, I was always depressed all the time. I never realized that I was being anything to anybody because I didn't feel like I was anything myself. So I was always very outgoing and everything in spite of it. But I had my moments where I would definitely go aside and cry. And in my book, I entitled it The Tears of a Clown, because there's this old song, The Tears of a Clown When Nobody's Around, because you're always making everybody else smile and happy. But when nobody's around, you're in tears yourself. So even though I left the field of counseling, I never stopped counseling because I always have people in my life and doing that. Opportunities to encourage people, opportunities to counsel are always there.
Oh, so how long you been in life coach? Like how long?
So I've been a life coach since 2016. And yes, I've been a life coach since 2016. I did my studies and my certification online at New Life Coaching, and it's an online program. And all of the monies that are collected for that program go to the homeless.
Oh wow!
And it was through my relationship with that coaching, with that coaching agency that I published my first book. So I was a part of a compilation, which is something like a Chicken Soup for the Soul book, where there was 15 of us, and we didn't get any profits from that book. We gave all of the profits to funding for children that were less fortunate, who needed monies for after school programs or summer camps, that kind of thing. So I published in that book, I published a synopsis of my actual book, Faith Through the Fog, which I published the book, And Still I Rise. The compilation book came out on Valentine's Day in 2017, and my actual book was published in October of 2017.
Okay, that's good. So what skills or experience have you gained outside of coaching you in interrogating with your practice?
So I integrate my counseling with my practice as a life coach, because oftentimes, so the difference between counseling and coaching, counseling, you're working through issues that can take a long time, basically. A lot of listening, and you are offering advice. I love counseling. That's always going to be my passion, but I also love coaching, because when people come to you for coaching, they come to you and they're working towards a goal, a specific goal. So but you're coaching them just like a regular coach. You know, you're helping them reach this goal. You're helping this team win, right? So you're helping this person win at this goal. So they come to you with their situation. You find out what kind of background they have and what things they've done to accomplish the goal, right? What has worked and what hasn't worked. So basically with coaching, you're pulling out of them the answer, because within us, we really do all have the answer to our situation. We just don't always know how to implement it. Yes. And we just aren't always able to hold ourselves accountable. You know, so you're helping them reach this goal, and the goal is theirs to own. It's not for me to advise you through it. And the reason why I don't really advise you through it or give you the answers is because, let's say, for example, you say to me, well, my son is having trouble tying his shoe, right? And I say to you, just go and stand behind him and show him how to tie his shoe, right? But the way you and I learned how to tie our shoes may be the one loop, wrap it around, and then pull it through, right?
Right.
He may be like my daughter, who couldn't grasp that concept and may need to make the rabbit ears and then tie the rabbit ears together, right? Yeah. Because something may be wrong with the way he moves his hand, why he can't do it the other way. Well, I wouldn't know that. Only you would know that, right? Yes. I wouldn't know that. So it's not always fitting for me to give suggestions or tell you what to do, because only you have the most investment in your situation, because you're living with your situation every day. You and God are walking with your situation every day. So the solution is really in you. I'm just helping you to draw it out. And then I'm finding out, how motivated are you to do the first step towards it, the second step towards it, whatever step we're working on that week, till we meet up the following week. We're talking about obstacles that may come in the way and preventing you from doing that step. And if that obstacle shows up, what's the alternative going to be? So you tend to see, with coaching, you tend to see more progress in a quicker way than with counseling. Counseling takes time. It takes developing trust. It takes working through issues. Sometimes it takes taking 2 steps forward and then 3 steps back in order to go another step forward.
Yes. So I also, like, as a first-time mom for myself, like, I was battling like postpartum depression, and it's still kind of hard because I feel like you feel lonely, you feel like you don't have much, you feel that self-care. Have you ever worked with anybody similar to me, like going through the same like issue that I'm going through? Because I know there's a lot of moms who's probably had kids at home and they probably had to help them with their schoolwork and teaching, like talking to the teachers from the internet and everything. Like, has anything, like, moms had came up to you like, please help me?
Sure. All the time. All the time. We've come into, this is a whole new level of parenting that's happening right now, a whole new level. Most people who are trying to do this parenting at home are also working at home.
Yes.
So, okay, so let me just talk about postpartum depression, first of all. It's a real thing.
Yes.
It's a real thing. And with parenting, with being a new parent, especially, you need to take time to learn how to get a routine that works for you and for your child and for your family. Because people will give you a whole lot of suggestions, especially people who are older than us. You know, they feel like we should do it their way. But I remember when my daughter was little, my daughter, I had to have a sonogram I had to have an ultrasound with her every month because I was high risk. I had placenta previa. And the doctor said to me, I didn't want to know what the sex of the child was at that time. So the doctor said to me, when this baby is born, you will need two things. You will need earplugs and you will need roller skates because this baby is all over the place. This baby is making all kind of noise in there. And he never lied. Okay, not about that. Because my daughter is the social butterfly. She loves to talk. She loves to communicate. And she never took a nap. So I turned into the screaming parent. I had to get books on Help for Screaming Mothers by James Dobson. I had to really, so I remember one day saying to my mom, how did you do it? You had 6 kids. How did you do it? She said to me, and this was when I had my son, you know, because now I had 2. They're 3.5 years apart. And now I have, you know, and so at that point, now 2 children and not just the one child, right? So my mom said to me, well, times are very different. She said, you guys have very different lifestyles. You know, you have your children in sports, you have your children in this and that and the other thing, right?
Right.
And she said, you know, all you did when you guys were kids was watch TV, go outside and play, and the older ones watch the younger ones. So
Yes.
your situation is very different, right? Yes. So you guys are working, you know, pretty much both parents are working now. One is not home. You guys have daycare to pay for, and a lot of other things. So she had enough wisdom and honesty to say, what I did is not going to work because it doesn't compare to your situation. But a lot of people don't have the same situation where they're honest enough, but they want to impose their method of their method of parenting. They want to impose that on you, right?
Right.
But that's not going to work for you. So you have to find your own way, but at the same time, you have to take care of yourself and you have to get the support that you need.
Yes. So I noticed that you have a book called Faith Through the Story of
Faith Through the Fog.
Yes. And I read that one of the parts that I really love, and it said that it's what we are is God's gift to us, and what we do with our life is our gift to God. It is
right.
making me want to try harder and make sure that my gift to God is a good one.
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell the audience more about this amazing book you have written, like what it's about?
So this book was written to help families and people who are going through mental illness. I'm a catalyst for change to shatter the stigma that is tied to mental illness. Okay. Not only through my book, but through my life. Okay. And doing it through my life involved me becoming as healthy and the best me that I can become through reading my word, constantly developing my relationship with God. Those things are primary, but also submitting to therapy. I don't take a lot of medications like a lot of people have to, but that was primarily because I have really bad allergies and sensitivities to medication. So I only take one medication and antidepressant. The others are supplements, from the health food store, basically. And just things that I do, as I said, my water daily, my smoothies with fruits and vegetables, my walking, things that I do for self-care, right? That being said, that's how I am shattering the stigma in my life. But through the book, it's also to help people, because when you go through anything in life, you're basically in a fog. And if you've ever been in a fog, you know that you can't see your way, that anything can happen. I talk about it in the book. There's vulnerabilities that you experience that you're not totally aware of what those vulnerabilities are. I talk about it in the book about how God took me through a literal fog on my way back from Virginia, Lynchburg, Virginia. My son used to go to school there. Okay. And I was coming home, and I experienced the worst fog I had ever seen in my life. But I had to keep going. I didn't have the luxury of saying, you know what, it's too bad out here, let me stop. I had to keep going because I had just started a new job, and I had to be at work the next day. My daughter was asleep, and God showed me how, all of the things that I, contended with while I was going through that fog. I contended with, what if somebody doesn't see me and they hit me? What if I don't see somebody else and I hit them? What if I run into something? I really want to stop and pull over, but I can't. Life is having to go on. And that's the kind of fog, those are the kind of things that we experience when we're going through our own fogs in life, right? And in this case, mental illness, you may be married to someone who's suffering from mental illness or have a child or whatever. And when you're in that fog, you can't stop. You have to keep doing life. While you're doing life, you don't know when that person's going to make a decision or a choice that's going to alter your life or theirs. And if they alter theirs only, it's still going to affect you. You don't know what the vulnerabilities are. You're trying different things. You're trying to figure out in your mind. You're constantly trying to figure out in your mind, how can I get out of this? But I can't get out of this because it is what it is. So that's the fog. And he showed me, because I prayed all the way home, 6-7 hours. Well, the trip normally took 6 hours, but I believe, if I'm not correctly, it took 8, no less than 7, right? I prayed all the way home. And when we're going through things in life, we have to continue going. But how do we go through? We have to go through with the faith, knowing that all things, not some, all things, Romans 8:28, work together for good to those who love God and are the called according to his purpose. So the book is about that. However, I have experienced some PTSD through the abuse of my sibling. I've, experienced some other things that I discuss in the book as well. I talk to people about school and how it relates to mental illness. I talk to people about relationships, marriage, therapy, medications, whether to take it, whether not to take it, and how to assess those decisions. I talk about finances and mental illness. I talk about a lot of things, and there are people who've read it who have not really had a direct relationship with anyone with regard to mental illness, who have said that because it is very raw. It is very raw. It's very upfront. It's a tell-all book. And it was one that was difficult for me to write because I am a very private person.
Yes.
Right? But God wrestled with me. It took me 3 years to write it, and God wrestled with me because I would go forward and pull back and say, oh no, and pull back. But in the end, I realized that this is a calling. If that's what God called you to do, it's a call to it, like anything else. And do you really want to not answer the call? And I remember being in church one Sunday, and the minister was talking about how his mother had a book. She didn't realize that she had a author who knew how to write very well, her son in the house. And she kept talking about it. He kept telling her, you need to do it. And she wouldn't do it. And when he went in the bookstore one day, the title of the book that she was supposed to be writing was on the shelf. And when he told that story, it put some fire under me, because I said, I don't ever want to have to face God and know that he had to raise somebody else up to do the thing that he called me to do.